And for the church design, now this one is arguably the most complicated of the three, has the most pieces. You want to make sure you have the base plate, the spooky tree. Also make sure you have the front and the back of the church. You have the insides of the spire. You have 4 roof pieces, 2 with wider tops and 2 with thinner tops. You have 3 fence posts, 1 roof top, you should have 2 thicker roof pieces and 2 thinner roof pieces. Should have 2 sides for the roof, for the building. They will arrange in those sort of pairs. You have these 2 pieces that go on the wall of the church. You should have 4 of these pieces, 2 that are this shaped and 2 that are this shaped. This will go at the bottom of the spire. You should have the tops of the door frame, 2 side pieces to the door frame. You should get a pumpkin, 1 of the skinnier webs, 2 of the thicker webs. And you should have 6 graveyards, 2 of that shape, 2 of the rounded shape, and 2 of the pointier shapes, and a bunch of wooden plank decorations. So I'm going to pop those aside, and we'll focus on building the main part of the roof first. Main part of the church first. Let's move all the roof pieces out of the way. Let's move the graveyard pieces out of the way. You want to make sure for this one that the tree is on this side of the building. So you want to make sure that when you glue everything together, that this side of the plate is facing at the top, that way. Get our glue ready. One of the first things to do is to get these 2 small pieces and make sure that they align the right way. So you want to have the decoration on the outside, and they slot into these gaps around the door. What I would do is take a small blob of glue, just slide it into the gap. I've used too much glue there. And then make sure that the detail stays on the outside. Just slide it on, and slide that on. Make sure they're slotted right in so that they can still rest onto the base. Then we start dabbing glue in places. This is one you have to work fairly quickly with because of how fast the glue dries. Dab glue in all of the spots. Along the base. Do the same for the back. So these two pieces so you want to have these two pieces first. They should align like so. You want to take the bottom piece and a dab of glue. This bottom piece and a dab of glue. Don't need to put on the bottom of these smaller pieces. You're going to make sure the roof, the front of the building facing all of the smaller holes. Slot in, have the detail on the outside, and while that one is still resting, make sure the roof is facing, well, I keep saying roof, make sure the window is facing upwards, slot it into these gaps. Wipe the glue away, flip it around, make sure the window is at the top and slot that on that side. And just wipe any glue away and just press into the building, and that should get you started on the rest of the building. While the glue is still a little wet, get the part with the roof pieces at the top and just dab some glue onto the spaces between the pegs on the side and slot it into the gaps on this part of the roof. Wipe away any glue and make sure it's, then flip it around, get the other piece we have left over, dab the glue in places like before, and then that matches up with the bottom. That matches the bottom of the window, and then just align them into the right holes. Wipe the glue away. We want the piece with the cross cut out. Dab more glue. And then place that at the top of the church, like so. Wipe away glue that sticks out. Make sure it's in. Next, you want to put some glue in between these gaps on the last remaining wall. And then this piece with the 4 holes and the slot cut out. Dab them like the other parts. And slot it in so that the slot is facing the top. You then want to arrange the roofs in their direction. So they're going to face into the roof, into the church like this. So you want to get dab some glue into the slots. A little on the sides. A little surrounding the spiky like pegs. A little in the middle. And then with one of the larger pieces, you want to dab a little glue around this peg. Slot it into the hole. Slot the tab, the peg at the top, into the hole on the wall, and then slot the tab into the roof. Same on this side. Dab a glue on the edges. dab of glue on the peg. Slot into the hole. And then press down into the tab. Same again for the smaller pieces. Dab glue on the sides with the peg. Into the hole. There we are. Then slide over the spike. And then take your roof piece with the spikes, making sure it's not one of your fences. You want to dab a little glue in that hole, and a dab of glue in this little like recess here. And then I'm just dabbing a tiny bit of glue on the inside of that slot. I'm gonna just, I think I've already glued there, but I'm just adding a bit more. And then you want to make sure that the piece with the spike is facing on the outside of the church, like this. And I just slot it into place, making sure that it's finding all the gaps. And there we go. That's the main part of the church done. We'll pop that aside a sec. Then we're going to build the church roof. Going to dab some glue in the small gaps. Do it again for these, a little bit on the top and bottom, some on the inside. Then you're going to take the spire of the church, just dab a little glue just around the sides of the peg. You don't want it on the very outside, because that's where the peg will poke through the hole. So it's a little on the top, a little on the bottom, and a little on the sides. Same for this one. Could need more glue. and then a touch of glue in between the spires where they slot together. You're going to slot them down the middle, and then you're going to want to make sure that these are slightly, the pegs are slightly off center, so you want to make sure that the center is, you want to make sure that the hole is facing the top of the spire. Take the other side, slot it on there, then take these pieces, slot them. This one's a little bit trickier. I'll make sure that it's slotting through the hole and slotting onto. Once one is on, it's a little easier to do the other. No, it's not. Just takes a little bit of wiggling the pieces. There we go. Get some more glue. Once the spire is constructed, I'm going to put the pieces of the roof on. So just dab a little bit of glue on the slanted spots here. And then I'm going to dab a tiny bit of glue each side of the pegs. You want to try and get some on all sides of the pegs except for the very outside. So that's where they're going to poke through those holes. So just dabbing glue on all the tabs, both sides. You want to make sure that you have your pieces aligned. So you've got the two thick ones and the two thin ones. You want to have the thick ones so that they have the same face as the top of the church. You don't want to have the skinny ones against it. So just slot that there. Start with one of the thick ones, take a skinny one, slot it underneath the thicker one. I've got glue all over my fingers. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue off. Then take your other skinny roof, slot that underneath. So you might want to raise the larger one off. I think what I might do, I might just take this piece off. I think I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on the sides of these skinny pieces. Retouch the glue where I just removed the other one. Wait, it's fallen off. And then just a little bit of glue on the sides. A to slot them both in. And then just press on the sides so there we go. And once everything's dried, you can then slot the church roof into position, and the hole on the skinnier piece fits in to the side, and then you can just put things inside. Next, I'll do the tree last. Actually, I think I'll do the tree last. Next, what I like to do is add the door arch. That just rests on top of the two pieces you slotted right at the start. And the beauty of this design, because it's such a wonky house, if it's a little off, it doesn't matter. It's just built that way, isn't it? And I'll do the gravestones first, if we don't dub them in glue. So just dab a tiny bit of glue on the inside and the sides of the tabs. And then you can decide which way you want your, excuse me, you can decide which, how you want your graves to be placed. So I'm going to put a round one here, slot him in. I'm going to put a pointy one there. Make sure it's a different one. Just want to have a little variety. Then I think I'll put the round one in the middle. Is there any glue on that one? Didn't feel like it. And then I'll put the other very pointy one at the back, and the other kind of like shield shape. Then you have like a different sort of array of shapes then. Just testing how these go in. It's probably a good idea for you to do that too, because then you get an idea of how it fits together. There we go. So you want to make sure that your, as you can see, I've put that the wrong way around. And there's a gap in the fence. So you just want to make sure before you glue it how they go in, because they're slightly, as you can see, the holes are slightly off-centered, like offset, so that they go in like the right angles. So what I do, I would just leave them in there as you're working on the others. Take one out, dab some glue, and then place some as you found them. And then you know you've got them in the right sort of orientation. And then grab your pumpkins. Dab a tiny bit of glue. A little bit on the sides. Side of the pegs, that is. And then that goes into the garden entrance or the graveyard entrance. This one there. And you just a touch more glue for the tree. I'm fairly sure the tree has a specific orientation, so what you want to do is slot your spire in. And then just play around with how the tree fits. I actually think it's okay either way. Yeah, it is actually. I think yeah, I'm gonna have them that way. So, a bit of glue on the very base where the tree is going to touch the base, like the base plate, and then just slot him into the holes. It's probably easier to put him on last if you want to paint this. I'd recommend painting the church before you put the tree there. And I'd also recommend putting all the other little bits of decoration. And there we go. That's the haunted church finished. You can then add the decorations. I like to add this particular spider web to the very top of the spire. You can add the webs inside the graveyard like the other one. You can add them to the walls, and then you have all the little like wooden planks that you can just pop and glue on whatever you want. So I hope that helps. Like I said, I'd recommend painting and gluing all the like spider webs and wooden pieces before you put the tree at the very back. Any questions, just give us a shout and we'll be happy to help.